Now at 9, police in Oklahoma City arrest a man wanted in Cherokee County, Kansas for attempted murder. Plus, a more than 100-year-old home in Webb City is set for demolition this week. We'll tell you what will take its place. And
President Biden oversees for a NATO meeting that could decide the direction of Ukraine's war with Russia. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have details straight ahead.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. A Webb City landmark will be demolished this week to make way for a new Popeyes restaurant. Built in 1908, the iconic house on South Madison Street once belonged to the then mayor George Washington Moore. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has more.
Kids of the last owner of the mansion on South Madison Street, Lene and Brent wanted to keep one last memory of the house where they grew up in. A piece of Lene's room wallpaper.
I keep coming over here torturing myself, stalking the demolition guys and just trying to soak up. Yeah, it's tough.
Connie Sweet, Lene and Brent's mom, lived in the house for more than half a century. When her husband died 11 years ago, paying the bills got harder. Then she decided to sell it.
I know she tried so hard to sell it, and it didn't sell, which was sad because it's a beautiful home.
Our family, more than anyone, was hoping it was someone that could restore it and that it would still be here.
Last year, Popeyes bought it to build its new location. Then, Connie moved to Arkansas. Last week, the demolition process started.
I sat out here when they started it the other morning. I brought my lawn chair out and watched, and it just was an emotional thing.
The pool was the first part of the house to be broken into pieces. Now they're working on the garages, and once that is done, then the house will be demolished.
Yes, it was a very, very well built house. We're going to use an excavator and some dump trucks and a skid steer.
According to the city of Webb City, the house is not on any list of historic registers. Brent moved to the house when he was 5 years old. Even though he's sad about seeing it go, he understands it's for the best.
It's sad, but it's just the cost of keeping it up has just gotten so out of hand. As you can see, the house has gotten so far that you just can't bring it back to life.
Now Connie and her kids keep a good relationship with the new owners of the property.
The 2 guys with Popeyes are awesome, and that's made the whole transition much easier. I mean, they've just been great to deal with and very good and patient with my mom.
Living in the house across the street for 45 years, Ben has seen the landscape on South Madison Street change.
I can remember when they started doing the redoing Madison Street. My daughter, who was raised here, thought it was so sad because she always thought Madison Street was the prettiest street in Webb City.
The mansion's neighbor, Christina, bought her house only 2 years ago. She shared her concerns about living next to a fast food restaurant.
It just worries me about, my grandkids playing here and stuff like that, and the noise is going to be extra loud. Like, we have little ones, and we have pets.
In Webb City, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
To honor the history of the house, the new Popeyes location will have a historical wall incorporating columns of the house and displaying pictures of it. Popeyes construction is scheduled to start by August 1st, and that restaurant should be running 4 months later. Another historic building in Southwest Missouri is going up for auction. The Reddings Mill Inn will go under the gavel tomorrow. The former owners say they lost the opportunity to gain ownership back, so now anyone has a chance to own a piece of that history. The auction includes several pieces of furniture and appliances, as well as the building. It begins tomorrow before 10 a.m. at the Newton County Courthouse in Neosho. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us now with a first look at weather.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a beautiful day across the area. Lots of sunshine on the warm side, but the dew points have been low, making it feel pretty comfortable. Right now, radar is clear in our local area, but there is a storm watch out in western Kansas and northwestern Kansas where some storms are developing there. As we go through the overnight hours, we're going to see temperatures dropping through the 70s all the way down to about 68 degrees. And then tomorrow, the heat index is going to be increasing, as well as the UV index. Tomorrow, 10, which is very high, about 15 to 20 minutes before you start to burn. So make sure you take all the precautions with the hat, sunglasses, and of course the sunscreen. Looking down the lane, we have some isolated thunderstorms for Tuesday. but it's going to be a hot Wednesday. Then we go into an unsettled pattern and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of drought relief, and I'll have more on that in just a bit.
See you soon. The manhunt is over for a suspect wanted for attempted murder in southeast Kansas. Authorities captured 61-year-old Charles Amos late last night in Oklahoma City. The Cherokee County, Kansas Sheriff says earlier yesterday, Amos was driving a stolen van when he ran out of gas in Cherokee County, then tried to siphon gas out of a farm truck. The sheriff says when the truck's owner and family confronted Amos, he fired 2 rounds from a shotgun at one of them, then fled in a pickup owned by one of the family members. Law officers from Kansas, Oklahoma, and the U.S. Marshal's Office worked together on a day-long manhunt, ending with the arrest just before midnight last night. Charges against Amos include attempted murder and aggravated robbery. A suspected intoxicated driver is charged after a 2-car crash last night in Mesarcoxy, Missouri, injured 9 people, including 3 children. A med-flight helicopter landed on the highway to assist with the injuries. Authorities say 62-year-old James Hake of Springfield was driving a car west on I-44 near mile marker 30 when he hit an SUV from behind. The SUV went off the road, hit an electronic sign, went down an embankment, and overturned. All 8 passengers in that SUV suffered minor injuries. The helicopter transported Hake with serious injuries. Authorities arrested Hake on 3 charges, including felony DWI. President Biden is now spending the night in Lithuania, where he'll attend a NATO summit with other heads of state at a crucial time after 500 days of war in Ukraine. As the heads of state prepare to meet, Ukraine is pushing for a commitment to join the alliance. Fox News correspondent Carolyn Shively reports from Washington.
Mr. President, how was the meeting with the king?
After friendly meetings in Great Britain, President Biden is now in Lithuania ahead of a key NATO summit and potentially thornier discussions over Russia, Ukraine, and cluster bombs. The president already taking heat for his authorization to supply Ukraine with the weapons.
Over 100 actual countries who are part of NATO have actually declared these munitions to be not used in war. And the reason for that is the increase in civilian collateral damage, because now you're thinking about the ideas of additional UXOs or unexploded ordnances.
Proponents argue cluster bombs could help end the war that has dragged on for more than 500 days.
Make no mistake. If we don't continue to do the things that we need to do to help the Ukrainians by providing them weapon systems they need, Vladimir Putin won't be satisfied until Greater Russia is ultimately achieved. We can prevent that.
Despite providing a new $800 million aid package to Ukraine, President Biden says he does not believe the country is ready to join NATO.
I don't think there is unanimity in NATO about whether or not to bring Ukraine into the NATO family now. At this moment, in the middle of a war.
On Monday, Ukrainian President Zelensky said the majority of the alliance members stand firmly with his country, and at this week's summit, they must confirm that Ukraine is a de facto NATO member. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Coming up, asking the FDA to investigate.
A wildly popular drink among kids and teens is being labeled as a serious health concern by one lawmaker. I'm Lauren Blanchard. I've got the details coming up.
Death caused by opioids in the U.S. rose 63% during the pandemic. A study published in JAMA Network Open found 1 of every 22 deaths in the U.S. in 2021 was due to an unintentional opioid overdose. Doctors say this highlights the need for more resources for substance abuse treatment, particularly among men and young people. One lawmaker and health experts are sounding the alarm about an energy drink that's popular among children and teens. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more.
Kids and teens are going crazy for it, but these neon-colored bottles are worrying lawmakers and doctors.
One of the summer's hottest status symbols for kids is not an outfit, it's not a toy, it's a beverage. But buyer and parents beware. because it's a serious health concern for the kids it so feverishly targets.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling on the Food and Drug Administration to investigate Prime Energy drink. Schumer alleges the drink, which comes in various kid-friendly flavors, contains potentially dangerous levels of caffeine.
This has the equivalent of 6 cans of Coke in terms of caffeine.
Social media influencers Logan Paul and KSI launched the beverage brand last year. It quickly took off on social media platforms such as TikTok, prompting long lines in grocery stores. But health experts are concerned because the drink contains twice the daily recommended amount of caffeine for adolescents between the ages of 12 and 18, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics.
The amount of caffeine in these drinks can give children and teens headaches. It can give them jitters, nervousness. It can interfere with the sleep cycle, which is so important to the developing brain.
Schumer says another major problem is that the brand's packaging and advertising targets minors. In a letter, he asked regulators to look into Prime's claims, marketing, and caffeine content. Some schools in the United Kingdom and Australia have banned the product. Prime says its drink is not recommended for children under 18 years old. Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Sam is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later the Joplin Outlaws and Nevada Griffins meet again on the Diamond. We're going to have the highlights for you in sports.
Well, we've had some really nice mornings across the area with low dew points. It's allowed the temperature to drop quite a bit. In fact, we were only 2 degrees away from the record this morning. I'll show you that in just a moment. But let's take a look outside right now in Seneca, Missouri, or just outside of Seneca at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Beautiful evening shaping up across the entire 4-state area. Here's that record low, or near it, 59 this morning, only 2 degrees away from that record set back in 1956. We were slightly above on the high with 91 this afternoon, but look at the rainfall. We're almost 10 inches behind so far just this year. There are some storms on the radar, but they're way up to the north and west in southern Nebraska and northwestern Kansas, and they're kind of diving to the south-southeast, which means most of this is going to miss our area to the south and west. Some counties may start to see a few sprinkles in the morning, especially down in Oklahoma and in far western sections of our viewing area. But right now, temperatures are pretty pleasant. 78 in Nevada as well as Fort Scott, 80 in Carthage, same thing in Neosho, 82 down in Grove as well as Jay. The dew points have been low, and that's what's made it feel very comfortable out there. But the dew points are starting to increase. Now we're starting to see the 60s starting to advance to the north, and also 70s are starting to show up once again. And that means tomorrow the heat index is going to be well over 100 degrees across most of the area. Maybe down in Cassville and Aurora, they'll escape it a little bit. Now this is what it's going to feel like. But check out Wednesday. It's going to be a well over 110 is what it's going to feel like on Wednesday afternoon. 117 in Fredonia and Independence, just absolutely blazing hot, and around 111 in Joplin. So heat advisories are probably going to be in effect at that time. Rain chances are going to be low. Tomorrow they'll be bumping up just a little bit, but the storms are going to be isolated. We're in this northwesterly flow pattern, which means pieces of energy are going to be dropping in this flow from northwest to southeast, and as each disturbance comes by, we have chances of showers and thunderstorms. In fact, the European model is forecasting a little bit of precipitation as well as the GFS, and hopefully this will verify, because this would be great with 3 inches or more in some isolated spots. However, the European is not as aggressive, so it's still a little toss-up as to exactly which model is going to verify, but hopefully we'll get some rain in here. We don't need the severe weather, but there is a risk of that on Wednesday, especially to the north, with the main threats being large hail and high winds. All right, tonight we're not going to see into that severe weather. Instead, we're going to see partly cloudy skies with lows in the 60s with scattered showers. And then tomorrow, same thing, scattered showers and storms, mainly in the eastern sections, with highs in the low 90s. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, it's going to start off pretty warm already with lows in the mid 70s. And then in the afternoon, you guessed it, right around 100 degrees, especially out towards the west, with thunderstorms moving in from the north. And then that will continue into Wednesday evening. And then by Thursday morning, showers and thunderstorms down to the south with lows in the 70s. Over the next 7 days, we do have several chances of storms, but first we have to get through that heat alert and that alert day on Wednesday, and then a little bit cooler on Saturday and Sunday with highs only in the upper 80s. But at least we have storm chances continuing on. And if we continue to do that, maybe we'll get some rain in here, Dow.
Well, that would certainly be welcome to
Yes.
everybody. Thanks, Sam. Coming up, privacy concerns with a popular new app.
When you download an app, do you ever read the terms of service? Probably not, right? And if you've downloaded Meta's new Threads app, you may not be aware what you've agreed to when it comes to your data. Coming up, we'll tell you where your data may be going.
100 million users have joined Meta's Threads app in just 5 days since it launched. But privacy is a concern. Fox Business correspondent Kelly O'Grady has details.
Well, we're all guilty of clicking yes on the terms of service without reading it, right? But as Meta's new app Threads explodes in popularity, I begin to wonder, what is Meta going to do with all this data? So I read the fine print, and it turns out they plan to share it with other platforms in the future. Now, buried in the terms of service is a pledge to soon make Threads part of what's known as the Fediverse. So that's basically a decentralized network of servers that allows member social networks, like a Mastodon, for example, to communicate with each other. Now, for example, a Threads user would be able to interact with a Mastodon user seamlessly, even if they're not on the same platform. Now, the upside is you could get rid of the current siloed social media experience, but here's what concerns me. In the terms of service, it says, quote, "Please be aware that you're directing us to deliver your information to services not controlled by Meta. Information sent to third-party services is no longer in Meta's control and is subject to the terms and policies of those third parties." Now, it's particularly vague on what data actually gets shared, but once the data is out there, users may not be able to delete it. Those platforms may have different policies from Meta. And worse, it could also have servers outside the United States. Now, TikTok is under scrutiny for storing American user data in China, and industry experts worry that Threads sharing data through the Fediverse could pose the same challenge.
A company can do it and store the data in Chinese servers or servers in China or Russia or wherever they want to, where these governments have complete control and access to that data. We will start seeing government entities doing it as a way to monitor their citizens, but also monitor other citizens as well.
Now, we reached out to Meta to inquire if they have plans to vet platforms that it shares user data with. We've gotten no response. So probably think twice before clicking accept on those terms of service. Kelly O'Grady in Los Angeles for Fox Business.
Amazon's annual 2-day Prime Day event starts tomorrow. It's the retailer's largest sale event of the year, as consumers flock to the website for discounts on everything from electronics to kitchenware. There's a new wrinkle this time around, though. Amazon is offering invite-only deals for some of its hottest products that it's fairly certain will sell out. Shoppers have to request invites to purchase the goods, but aren't required to buy them if chosen. Up next, when a new study shows about the educational benefits of family game nights. Family game night might make learning math more fun for kids. That's according to a new study published last week in the journal Early Years. Researchers reviewed 19 studies that looked at the individual impact of 25 games on learning. The studies used several different tests adopted in early education to measure things such as arithmetic speed and accuracy. They found board games can help younger kids grow stronger math abilities. In more than 30% of the games, kids saw a significant improvement in math ability compared with those who did not play. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Some veterinarians in Arkansas are preparing for an outbreak of canine flu. Plus, the Girard Public Library hosts a presentation on raising chickens in your backyard. Veterinarians across central Arkansas are warning of a canine influenza outbreak. The flood of diagnoses comes as the vaccine for dog flu is in short supply. Macklin Johnson reports on what vets are seeing and what you need to know.
Here at Pinnacle Valley West Rock Animal Hospital, vets are seeing 8 to 10 dogs a day, all being diagnosed with a strain of canine influenza. And in talking with other vets across central Arkansas, they're sounding the alarm of a potential outbreak.
It's so contagious. It's an outbreak of the flu.
Dr. Sonia Laverne says the signs of canine flu started popping up at Pinnacle Valley West Rock Animal Hospital a few weeks ago. Multiple dogs coming in with typical signs of kennel cough, but worse.
Seemed a little sicker. Some of them had fevers, They had decreased appetite, increased lethargy.
A respiratory test showed one thing: canine influenza. After reporting to the state veterinarian, she learned it's happening across central Arkansas.
Confirmed positives in Conways and in the surrounding areas.
Soma Animal Clinic confirming with THV11 they've recently diagnosed a case. This outbreak comes as the flu vaccination, which helps protect against both strains, is in short supply. Laverne says the animal hospital got wind of this and stocked up.
Dog flu's been around for a long time. It's just that we haven't really seen outbreaks here.
Dogs that go to dog shows, doggy daycare, the groomers, and boarding facilities are at a higher risk.
And we've been seeing in almost all the boarding facilities, it's like taking your kids to daycare. If something's out there, they're going to be susceptible.
If they are susceptible, here's what to look out for: coughing, sneezing, a nasal discharge. Maybe they're not eating as well or as active. But there is good news in the midst of this current outbreak.
The dogs that we've seen that have had it, even some of the more sick ones, they seem to be recovering.
Dr. Laverne also wants dog owners to be aware that a dog might have it but could be asymptomatic. The biggest thing right now is to try to limit its skin contact with other dogs, since it's extremely contagious and can spread quickly. If dogs aren't your style, maybe you'd be interested in raising chickens. The Girard Public Library today hosted a presentation on backyard chickens and incubating eggs. An expert with K-State Research and Extension Office delivered the presentation, covered caring for chickens, their housing needs and design, and the basics of incubating eggs.
Do have a lot of predators, so that is one common misconception is people get chickens, they might not have a predator-proof coop for them or may not lock them up at night, and then unfortunately a raccoon or something finds them during the night.
Next Monday, the Girard Public Library will host a paint night event. One Republican senator is flexing his muscle and blocking hundreds of military promotions in a policy dispute over abortion policy. It's a high-stakes standoff, and the Department of Defense is asking service members to delay their retirements. More than 250 general and flag officers have been impacted by the holdup, and up to 650 are supposed to be held up by the end of the year. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has that story.
A military farewell to General David Berger, head of the U.S. Marine Corps. After more than 40 years, he wrapped up his service.
I'm grateful for all the Marines I got to serve alongside.
But Berger's ceremony was not only a celebration of what he's done, it was also a reminder of what his departure brings. For the first time in more than a century, a Senate-confirmed commandant won't immediately succeed him.
Smooth and timely transitions of confirmed leadership are central to the defense of the United States.
Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville is blocking hundreds of military promotions over the Pentagon's abortion policy. The Defense Department allows service members time off and travel reimbursement if they need to go out of state for the procedure. In an opinion piece published by the Washington Post, Senator Tuberville argued his hold is not affecting military readiness, and some Republicans are backing him.
We simply cannot have the federal government subsidizing abortion in this country.
But others don't support Tuberville's approach.
Holding these military personnel who have nothing to do with policy in order to try to dictate a policy change is not the best way to go about it.
On Tuesday, the Senate Armed Services Committee will hold a confirmation hearing for the next Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman. It's another position that could go unfilled when General Mark Milley retires in September. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
A bit later, why many in South Korea are concerned about Japan's decision to release wastewater from the damaged Fukushima nuclear power plant.
Well, folks, the last few days have been pretty nice, especially with the lower dew points making it feel much more comfortable, including this evening out at Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. You can see a beautiful night shaping up. Venus there in the background, just above one of the towers there. Beautiful night to go out and enjoy that. And we're looking at a record low, or close to it this morning. 59 degrees was our low. We're only 2 degrees away from the record set way back in 1956. course, we're about 10 inches behind on rainfall. There are some storms on radar, but they're way up to the north and west, kind of congealing into a mesoscale convective complex that will mainly move to the south and east, mainly from west of Wichita down into Oklahoma. In fact, flash flood watches are in effect for parts of Oklahoma because of all the storms and rain that they've been having. Unfortunately, we've been dry. Although it is comfortable this evening, temperatures in the upper 70s up to the north, 75 already in Iola. Meanwhile, it's 81 in Welch and Oswego for some of the warm spots, 82 degrees over there in Stockton. But at least the dew points have been lower, and that's what's made it feel more comfortable. But now we're starting to see the dew points increasing once again. And as we start to see 70s creep back into our area, that means the heat index is going to start going up as well, including tomorrow, with most places feeling about 100 degrees or more. But that's nothing compared to what's coming on Wednesday. With dew points in the low to mid 70s and temperatures close to 100, that means heat indexes will be well over 110, 117 in Fredonia, Independence, 116 in Parsons and Chanute, around 111 here in Joplin. So it's going to be sweltering on Wednesday. But in the meantime, our rain chances are going to be low for tonight, pick up just a little bit tomorrow, but there'll be isolated storms. And that's mainly because we're watching this ridge of high pressure shift off towards the west, and that puts us in a northwest flow pattern. And so we have these disturbances that come along off the Rocky Mountains in the afternoon and evening, generating these showers and thunderstorms in waves. And the good news is some places could pick up quite a bit of precipitation in a short period of time. In fact, the GFS model is forecasting higher amounts up towards the north. And then as we go through time, by Friday, some places could see over 3 inches. That would be great if that happens. But unfortunately, the European model is not as aggressive. So it's going to be a toss-up to see exactly how much rain we're going to get. But at least most areas will get some, and some areas more than others. Also, there is a risk of severe weather on Wednesday, with the biggest threats being large hail and high winds because of all the heat and humidity. That's going to give a lot of fuel for those thunderstorms on Wednesday. Tonight we're going to see mostly fair skies with temperatures dropping into the 70s, isolated showers or storms possible, especially down in Oklahoma. And then as we go into Tuesday, we're going to see temperatures in the low to mid 90s with isolated storms mainly to the east. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, not much of a low, generally in the mid 70s. And then in the afternoon, close to 100 degrees with scattered thunderstorms possible, developing to the north and then rolling to the south. And that continues into Wednesday evening and all the way into Thursday morning with lows in the 70s. So over the next 7 days, we have chances of thunderstorms, but we have to get through that hot, unbearable day on Wednesday. So we're going to call it an alert day with a high of 99. I just couldn't bring myself to say 100. And then as we go into Saturday and Sunday, temperatures in the upper 80s with scattered thunderstorms possible. So it could be much worse now, as you and I both know.
It could be triple digits instead of 99.
That's right.
I guess. Thanks, Sam. Coming up in sports, day 2 of the MLB draft rolls along. Plus, the Outlaws try to stay in first place after tonight's game. John Dales has those stories and more coming up.
Seven months ago, Cordell Tinch was out of the sport of track completely and selling cell phones for a living. Now, fast forward ahead to current day, he's a multiple-time NCAA champion at Pitt State, set a collegiate record a couple of weeks ago, and competed in the U.S. National Championships this past weekend. Now, late last night, Tinch continued his unbelievable redemption story when he finished second in the 110-meter hurdle finals, just finishing out on first by 3/100ths of a second. However, that's still more than good enough to qualify for the U.S. national team in the upcoming Track and Field World Championships that are held in Hungary next month. Immediately after the race, he was asked what was going through his mind, and Tinch explained he really couldn't put it into words. He said he dreamed about it forever and getting to wear Team USA. We'll keep you updated on the Pitt State alums' progress the whole summer. Meanwhile, the Outlaws just wrapped up their All-Star break and begin the second half of the regular season with a week-and-a-half-long homestand tonight, where they kick things off by hosting Nevada. Starting things out in the bottom of the fourth of that one, Outlaws trailing 1-0 with the guy on first. This chopper to third looks like it could be a double play. Nevada only gets one, but Joplin manager Chris Dawson very upset, saying, hey, the second baseman got pulled off the bag. Not going to change the call, though, but not to worry for Joplin, though, because a couple batters later, Cole Hill smashes one to left field. That gets down, bounces up against the fence, and it'll bring in 2 different runners. Now that was part of a 5-run 4th inning for the Outlaws, so they take a big lead. And on the mound, Caden Bressler, really solid for the Outlaws tonight. He gets a strikeout in the 5th. He'd go 7 and only allow 2. Bottom of the 5th, more traffic on the base paths. Corey Siracusa, with the Outlaws leading 6-1, steals 2nd. Then he goes all the way up ahead and steals 3rd. Next batter, Ethan Kruger, hits one deep to center over the center fielder's head. That'll drop down, and the Outlaws would win big. Final score in this one, 9-2. And in professional baseball, no games happening right now because of the All-Star break, but still plenty of news because we're in the middle of the MLB draft, and things got started yesterday with the first 2 rounds, and today's action wrapped up after rounds 3 through 10 all took place this afternoon into this evening. Now here are the Royals picks from rounds 3 through 8. A couple that stand out. Former Mink leaguer and Missouri State alum Spencer Nivens selected with the 142nd overall pick. Also Hero Wyatt, who just finished high school in Connecticut. Now he's committed to USC and has to pick between Kansas City and USC. He got picked with the 75th overall pick and has the option of starting his career with the Royals. Cardinals also very busy today as well. Here's who they got in rounds 3 through 8. Travis Honeyman from Boston College, thought of as one of the best names not taken on day 1. St. Louis grabs him with the 90th overall pick. Zach Levinson, another ACCer from Miami, taken a couple of rounds later. Quinn Matthews, another name to look out for. He stayed in school at Stanford after getting picked in the 19th round last year. That's all for sports. Back with more news after this.
The International Atomic Energy Agency is endorsing Japan's controversial decision to release wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant, which was damaged and flooded back in 2011. Officials say it would have a negligible impact on the environment, but those remarks aren't calming concerns in South Korea. Reporter Paula Hancock sat down with a fisherman who's worried about his business and the contamination of food.
Lee Ki-sam watches his crew unload the catch from the night's fishing. Mackerel, anchovies and yellowtail fished off the southeast coast of South Korea, close to Japan. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, gave Japan the green light this week to release treated wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant. Lee and his fellow fishermen are worried.
I have my doubts. I don't trust the South Korean government. They keep talking about scientific verification without announcing any plans for the future.
The IAEA says Japan's plan meets international safety standards, but a Gallup Korea survey from June shows 78% of those polled said they were very or somewhat worried about contamination of seafood.
I will probably stop eating seafood once the water is released.
If the public avoids seafood, we'll face bankruptcy. I think it's going to massively hurt the business.
Lee says he's not sure he'd even let his own children eat seafood after the release, adding he's been a fisherman for more than 30 years and has no other skills. South Koreans have been panic buying sea salt. It's rare to find it on the supermarket shelves anymore. Wholesale prices have soared more than 40% since April. The government has been releasing salt reserves to try and cool prices, claiming weather has also played a significant role in the jump. South Korea's government says it will maintain a ban on Japanese seafood imports from the Fukushima area in place since 2013, but does respect the IAEA report. For Lee and thousands like him, the future is uncertain, dependent on the public's trust or lack of in seafood.
I want to live and work in my fishing village until my last day.
Coming up, how a simplified version of baseball is helping get more kids interested in the sport. It's a twist on the game of baseball that's making it easier for kids to play and enjoy one of America's favorite sporting pastimes. Fox's Zach Anders has more on how quick ball helps to simplify the rules and may possibly bring more kids to the game.
I like being catcher and basketball.
Baseball and softball can be fun but complicated sports to learn.
There's so many positions and there's so much you can do.
Youth baseball advocate Frank DeSembrino says there's a way to fix that with a new game.
That is played in half the space, twice the pace, and it's inclusive for players of all ages and skill levels. We're trying to give them the opportunity, what it feels like to hit a home run, to actually make a play.
They call it quick ball, and it literally stands for quick baseball.
I was a phys ed teacher, and basically I saw how bored kids were with some traditional programming and how kids were having success using quick ball, which originally was designed as a college intramural sport. And I thought to myself, why is this better? Why is this different?
Frank says it's an equalizer, one that breaks down the game of baseball into separate activities.
And we build a piece of the curriculum around every aspect of the game. Base running, catching, throwing, the rules.
And unlike in T-ball, kindergarten-age kids are brought to a place where they can swing freely.
Once you develop that hand-eye coordination with an instrument, the kids swing freely and the game becomes a little bit better for them.
Advocates like Frank say a big reason why kids get discouraged or lose interest in the sport is because they weren't given the chance to learn the skills properly.
So our entry-level program looks like a baseball, softball carnival or a birthday party. So when they show up, they see the kids in activities, stations that only last 4 to 5 minutes, so that the kids' attention span lasts that long at that age. When the kids are in these stations and they're doing just small little lead-up games and activities, they're having the opportunity for success, several different times in one quick ball session. Some kids have that success one time a whole season if they're playing traditional versions like T-ball or coach pitch.
Of course, you ask the kids how the game could be more fun, you'll get a healthy variety of ideas.
You could have a trampoline surrounding the outfield, so then you could bounce and then grab the baseball before somebody gets a home run.
Again, quick ball, no relation. That is our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a gorilla at the Berlin Zoo enjoying some icy treats. Let's make it a great